Feels like I've been here before. Welcome to the Room and Board Deathmatch, a tournament where we pit the greatest games of all time against each other, where only one can survive and the rest must be burnt for all eternity. And this month, the stakes have never been higher. I'm letting you all choose my new favorite game. My number one game of all time, way back when I did my top games, is Rising Sun. It holds the number one spot. And now a year-ish later after I've done this list, my patrons thought it would be a wonderful idea to pit all of my favorites against each other. And so not only are you seeing my top 31 favorite games of all time fighting each other to the death, but at the end of this, one of these will be crowned the champion. And I will officially have a new favorite game of all time. I haven't told anybody this, but whatever game comes out of this death match, when people ask me, hey, what's your favorite game? I will be legally obligated to say, and I will continue that until I do another top list. And then we can see, oh, it's fallen so far, and we can have that drama, right? But that is something that I will absolutely do, and it was planning on doing, and I was only planning on revealing it in this video. So I wonder which game is going to come out on top. It might be Rising Sun. I will be pulling for it because it still holds the number one spot in my heart, but soon, maybe it won't. And so this is very nerve-wracking for me. This is very nerve-wracking, but it's also very exciting because I love absolutely every one of these games on this list. But now I'm seeing what you all think of it and letting you do the rankings. You get to decide which games live and which games die, which games make it into that final round. And how good is my taste? I wonder what numbers are going to make it forward or not. So get your predictions down below. Tell me about your favorite games of this list. Oh man, this is going to be a really hard one because for every matchup, it hits right here. This is so tough. So I hope you got your predictions down below. And we're going to start off not with Rising Sun. I gave it the bye for a reason. We're starting off with Pandemic Legacy Season 1 versus Trains. And what I should say is usually I create these games randomly, but I've seeded them correctly so that all the rankings are relatively equal, like a March Madness bracket might be. So this is number 16 versus number 15. And so right off the bat, I kind of have a feeling that Pandemic Legacy will beat Trains here. Trains is sort of an underrated gem in my opinion. Trains takes everything that Dominion made exciting and makes it better because you have a board. You have a board where you're navigating and placing your trains down, so you actually have an estate or a network to build rather than you're just plain old boring cards. I don't see any love for Trains on the internet. It feels like I'm one of the only people who enjoys this game, but I think it's just so fun. It scratches that Dominion itch for me, right? Whereas Dominion, I kind of got tired of it after a while. Although to be fair, I played a crap load of it online with all the different expansions. And I think that's what made the base Dominion, which I owned and only owned the base, feel a little bit stale, but it's also a deck builder that kind of shows its age or is a good introductory to deck building because you don't get to do that much. And so I feel like Trains has a similar ease of access, but you also get to have the route building of Ticket to Ride, right? You have the ability to place things out and strategically get points, not only in your cards, but in your board as well. So it's just really fun. If you like deck building, highly recommend checking out. Pandemic Legacy is fantastic. Pandemic Legacy is so fantastic that it's made it on my top 20 list, like top 20 games of all time, and I've only played half of it. I'm so excited to continue to play the rest, and maybe the ending will be dissatisfying, but I doubt it. I know it's just really good. It takes a classic and it elevates it, right? From the very first mission when things change and some viruses have different characteristics and then things adapt and you're unlocking new characters and you're unlocking new elements to the story. It's getting harder as you go along through the game. The more you win, the harder the pandemic rages. The amount of outbreaks you have changes the board forever. It's just such an awesome, awesome experience. And so it is no surprise to me that it is Pandemic Legacy that moves on and beats Trains, knocks Trains out of the competition in like an 18-9 vote. A little bit of love for Trains though, so that was kind of fun. Oh man, I love both of these games so much. It's also kind of cool having done this list as we head on to Anachrony versus Wingspan, let's take a little look back in time. And thinking and reflecting upon this list, like I made this list, I ranked all of my games that I've played. Every game that I played took me hours. It took me hours on PubMeeple. It was so long. But I did that probably a year and a half ago at this point. I did it before I put out the video, like a significant amount of time before I put out that video. And since then, I've like aggressively expanded my board gaming knowledge. And so it's interesting to look at this list and to think about the classics that are on here, the Cult of the New that I've been playing so much. But returning to every one of these games on this list, the thing that holds true is that it invokes in me a real fever or desire of happiness to either play the game again or reminisce on the times that I've spent. Even though with Wingspan, I always get that sense of like, I've played this too much because I played a lot with my girlfriend. But even still, Wingspan needed to make it into that top 31 because I just think it's like a really solid system. It's super high up on Board Game Geek for a reason, and doing commentary coverage and like strategy guide coverage over on the World Series of Board Gaming's YouTube channel, which if you're not subscribed to that, go on over, subscribe. It's just me. It's more of me. And I'm trying to tailor that into like strategy tips and interesting stuff and getting away from it just being ads all the time. Even though WSBG is a really fun event that I'm super proud to be a part of. And I know you'd have a good time if you went, or I hope you would. I really hope you would. And if you don't, like let me know, because I will fix anything that you didn't have a good time with. Like I'm in the power. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. That's a tangent. But we're talking about competitions, so I guess it's relevant. And I just filmed a video for WSBG too, so maybe that's why it's relevant. I feel like I buried the lead here. These are legitimately my favorite games, like my top 30 favorite games of all time. 10 of them I haven't ever revealed before. Revealed to the public. Ooh. Because I just wanted to do my top 20. That felt like a good way to jump into the revealing, talking about top favorite games. But I'm really, really excited and petrified to do this deathmatch. Wingspan needed to get like an honorary spot on the list. It really did. Because of its impact on the hobby, because of just how solid a design it is and how like slick an engine builder it is. It's just really, really good. It was my number 24 when I did my ranking. It just didn't make that top 20. But it's up against number 9, Anachrony, which made the top 10. I don't have these minis, but they are pretty fun. Anachrony is a game that I've only heard gets better as you add more and more expansions into it, and I have not added any of the expansions. I've just played this base game. It's such a slick Euro. The asymmetry here of all the different boards and factions are so fun. I love that you have to choose how many exosuits you power up to send out into the main board, while at the same time you're getting buildings and developing your own little system on the side where you can activate and send your workers to as well. Your workers then getting tired, which you have to either motivate them with water or just like ruin your reputation and motivate them other way. And it has a really like slick loan system where you have to go back in time. You have to send things back to yourself in time to help stop the coming disaster. Which, hey, that's something we all should do, I'm sure. Weird. I love this game so much. You can play both on Board Game Arena now. This game friggin', even just the base game is so fun. I like highly recommend it. I mean, I obviously want Anachrony to win here. Clearly there is a disparity between Wingspan and Anachrony. Wingspan is one of the ones where like, again, I still have that weird relationship with, which because like I have played it so much. I've probably played it more than a lot of things in the top 20, and I played it less than Anachrony. So maybe that's why I want to get Anachrony to the table more. Or maybe I just like worker placement. There's something so fun about this theme that doesn't matter. It's the mechanics that matter, but it's such a tight, fun race. And even though some of the people in the Discord said that they'd rather play Wingspan, I just wish the birds got in mech suits and time traveled. It was a closer vote than expected. It was 18-14. When I look back now, it's 20-14 for Anachrony. It is Anachrony that moves on into the next round, and Wingspan, unfortunately, is destroyed. It's a fantastic game, but it would hurt more to get rid of Anachrony at this point. But next up, we have Terra Mystica versus Avalon. Oh, this one's also tough. I mean, they're all tough. They're all tough. Avalon is my number 8. Terra Mystica was my number 25. Terra Mystica, which has now been re-implemented by Age of Innovation, which I haven't played, but I know that he took all the lessons learned from Gaia and then like mixed in different abilities for your main building. You know how each faction always had its own main building ability. Now those are random too, I'm pretty sure. It looks very good. But Terra Mystica is something that I've played a ton of. And again, I was doing the Gaia Project commentary for WSBG. We were talking, Cliff and I were talking about this. He was saying that Gaia Project and Terra Mystica, they're games where there is no catch-up mechanic. If there were points that you could have gotten and you didn't, you're not getting them back. And I think that's like a really interesting, exciting game because it feels like every decision you make is so important. Every conversion or eking out new resources or picking the right things to get the more resources before your opponents, racing your opponents to terraform a place quicker than they ever could. It's just really, really slick. Super fun. But Avalon is my favorite social deduction game. It's so good. It has this big box edition now, which includes all of the promos, a bunch of extra roles, but I never feel the need to play with all the roles. I usually just play base Avalon, and I usually have myself just a fantastic time. This is a tough one too, because like if we're talking about burning games, maybe you could burn a social deduction one, right? Because you could just play it without the components. Like, is that something that we're considering here? But no, not really. We're considering what is the better game, right? We want the best game to emerge victorious. And it's tough because, like, I'm on such a high after that Gaia project that I just want to play Terra Mystica and Gaia Project some more, right? I want to get back into it and play more of these games. And I love all the asymmetry in Terra Mystica. It's really, really good. And yet Avalon is just excellent. It's so excellent. It's number 8 for a reason. I always have a good time playing this game. Even when I'm tired, even when the games last 3 hours or 15 minutes, it's so good. And so in this one, the people were a bit undecided. Before the votes were cast, it was like 10-13 for Terra Mystica, I think. I think it was pretty even. I see some extra votes for Terra Mystica. 10-13 before the votes were cast, before the dies of chaos were resolved. Some people were in between, split in the middle, and so they left it to chance. And it is due strictly to chance and only to chance that Avalon ekes out the win 15-14 votes. It's not that I manipulated the dice so that my games that were ranked higher moved forward. I would never do something like that. And I know I will not be punished for it later. I could never be. But it is Avalon that moves forward, and I'm a bit sad. I'm a bit sad now. Maybe I want Terra Mystica to move forward too. But on the whole scale, if we analyze all of them, I do love Avalon. I love that there's no elimination. Social deduction without any elimination, where players have complete agency in what they do with actual tangible information through voting patterns to figure out what's going on. It's great. Now this next one is also really tough. It's Unfair versus Suburbia. Unfair sitting at number 5. Suburbia sitting actually at number 32. And there's a couple reasons for this. When adding in the last 10 games, I bumped some up that I felt like it. That's pretty much the reason. And also there were a couple doubles, like Nemesis was doubled on there on the list, and so I had manually removed that, those sorts of things. So Suburbia does make the cut and gets onto here. And oh, I really want to play both these games right now, just talking about them. I really, really do. Unfair is my number 5. Suburbia number 32. Unfair, I can't wait to play that expansion that I got and I haven't used yet. Unfair, you're creating a theme park tableau. You can only play 5 different attractions down, and then you're boosting them up, and then you're trying to complete these blueprints so you have specific cars and specific rides in your park, and also each of the rides are going to be worth stuff. Suburbia, my favorite thing about Suburbia is all of these tiles. There are a lot of tiles where you're placing tiles into your own city, but everybody's doing that. So there are a lot of tiles which say, like, hey, for every one of these symbols in your city, get an income or get a population boost. Or for every one of these in everyone's city, gain a population boost, or decreased when something else gets put into someone else's city, like a fast food restaurant is making you a lot of money at first, and then the more people buy fast food restaurants, the less powerful it becomes. It's a great game. The only thing you should do is you should remove the casino if you're playing with 2 players, and especially if you're playing with 2 players and one of you can understand that that's a good tile and the other player can't understand that that's a good tile. It's a bit, game breaking. Or the PR firm as well. They're very expensive, but they basically give you unlimited of one resource. How the mechanics work is that you're boosting your population income and your population income and your income. And so basically every time you cross one of these red lines, you're gaining population every turn. And so as you cross these lines and they get closer and closer together as you move up, your population and your income decrease because there's less demand of people going to your city, and your city has to expend more resources keeping up its infrastructure. But if you have a PR firm, every time you cross one of these, it doesn't decrease. Same with the casino. Every time you cross one of these, it just doesn't decrease. So you can max out pretty quickly, and in a 2-player game, it just feels really unbalanced for one player to get it and the other's not. In like a 3 to 4-player game, everybody's vying for it, and so even though somebody does get it, there are more chances for people to have blocked it. But yeah, even with that, still super duper fun game. I love playing this game so much, and I think I do like it a little bit more than Castles of Mad King Ludwig, even though I do like Castles of Mad King Ludwig's rearranging of the market. I think that's cool. But it's not Suburbia that wins. It is Unfair that takes the vote. I wasn't sure which way this one would go, but Unfair was leading 13-10, and the Dies of Chaos end up being split pretty equally in 14-12. So it is Unfair that moves forward, and somebody can keep on trying to complete their beautiful little blueprints. God, it's a good game. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for the expansion. So there's an expansion. Well, we'll talk about it when it comes back up. Next round, we have Blood Rage versus Power Grid. These are two that were in the top 20 that you will have seen. Blood Rage moved up. I bumped it up in that honorable top 20 spot because Eric Lang, I think, is one of my favorite designers. And it's a really, really solid game. But Power Grid is my number 12 game of all time. And I stand by this. Like, I haven't played Power Grid since I made the list. And I don't care. I think it's really freaking fun. Even though it's kind of Math the board game, it's still like just a dang blast. In Power Grid, you're sprawling out all across North America or Europe, depending upon what you're playing, and you have a certain number of power plants in front of you that you've auctioned off. And each power plant becomes more and more effective as you go throughout the game. You can get additional power plants. And so the whole crux of the game is how much do you spend at the auction? How much do you spend expanding your infrastructure? Do you have the infrastructure to power all these cities? It's really good. That's a great place to play Power Grid. Yeah, it's just really fun. I really, really enjoy it. I love balancing the auction cost versus what do I power. Managing that market, I think, is really cool. Blood Rage is obviously exceptional. It's a really great drafting game. It was in the World Series of Board Gaming, but it got rotated out the first year because I think people were afraid of its direct conflict, the direct conflict aspect of it. If you go to the Room and Board video of mini painting, you can see the job that Zach did with these. I think it's in that one. I love the drafting and the tight area control of this game, and I love the multiple paths to victory. That's what I love in terms of Blood Rage. I am assuming that Blood Rage will beat Power Grid here because Power Grid's a little bit drab. You know, it's older. It's an older game. It's 2004. It's 20 years old. It's older than I am. But it's still maintaining its spot on BGG Top 100. Blood Rage has surpassed it in the Top 100, but they're both there. It feels like nobody talks about Power Grid anymore, but I'm happy to be talking about it. And this one was a close game. Blood Rage was winning on regular votes, but there were a bunch of people who added in some extra votes. You get one extra vote. If you're unfamiliar, if you haven't seen any of these competitions before, you get one extra vote every deathmatch tournament. And so a bunch of love was shown for Power Grid, putting it over the top and moving into the next round. So far, the status quo has remained pretty consistent, right? I'm doing pretty well. Pandemic Legacy was my only fault, but otherwise my tops have won. Let's see if that can keep going with Terraforming Mars taking on Nemesis Lockdown. Specific Nemesis Lockdown, because I liked Nemesis Lockdown a little bit more than Nemesis. my friend Zach and we have a whole comparison about that. But I also like Terraforming Mars more than I like Nemesis anyway, because Terraforming Mars is number 12 and Nemesis Lockdown was number 18. I played 2 games of Terraforming Mars on BGA the other night. I haven't been on BGA in ages, and I just went on there and I saw that it was there, and I really, really enjoyed myself. And I also was like, dang, I really like Prelude. Even though I don't think it's an essential expansion, it's pretty close. It's just a really good expansion and super fun to play. I think I'd enjoy playing it more in person though, because I can see what other people are doing a little bit better. There's a lot to keep track of on BGA. I like being able to feel the tactile experience of these really solid player boards. Nemesis Lockdown is also just fantastic. Like, this is what put Awakened Realms on the map, and rightly so. This game is so good in terms of the stories it develops. Like, the characters, the archetypes, the monsters, and like the stories of going up and down, plus the new power system that exists in here, being able to turn on the lights in a floor or turn it off on someone, is really, really fun. And I love the contingencies at the end as well. You know that there is something that you have to do, but you don't know what it is if you are trying to do a certain like end game objective. So it really encourages player interaction and trying to figure things out before committing to locking yourself in an escape pod, if that escape pod is just going to be completely destroyed by anybody who moves in on it. I kind of expect Nemesis Lockdown here to win, because I know the people in my Discord love big chunky minis and big boxes that are super expensive. But hey, Terraforming Mars also has that. It's got all those things. But I think the storytelling that happens with Nemesis Lockdown is just so next level. And that's why it is Nemesis Lockdown that moves forward. It dethrones Terraforming Mars, takes it out. I mean, Nemesis did win the space bracket way back a long time ago, so I guess it makes sense. It's Nemesis Lockdown that moves forward in a 17-15 vote. I am currently 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm 4 for 2 right now in the first round in terms of popular opinion, and I'm sure to be 4 for 3 after this vote. It's Dune, my number 4 game, taking on Grand Austria Hotel, my number 31 game. Although the one benefit, I don't own a copy of Grand Austria Hotel, or I didn't as we were doing this competition, and now I do own a copy of Grand Austria Hotel because I wanted it, because I remembered how much I liked it, and I decided that I couldn't just keep it at a friend's house. I wanted this one in my collection. It's a very satisfying game of service industry, the board game, you know, which, having worked in the service industry for quite a significant amount of time, you'd think that wouldn't be fun. But it still is fun. It's fun catering to all these guests' needs and putting them in their doors, because you know what? You're deciding if they get fed or not. You don't have to worry about them tipping you. Well, you kind of do, because I guess they're tipping you in points, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Dune is the best 4X board game out there. Hands down, point and the period. That's it. I can't wait to play with the new factions and the new expansions, but if you get 6 players together, you can have the most epic 4X game filled with so much negotiation for a quarter of the price of what most of the other games of this type will give you. It's fantastic. Just the fact that in the rules it says, like, it specifies, at least I think it does. My friend Zach taught me this game, so I could be playing it all wrong. But it specifies you can go off, you can have whispered conversations, right? Like, you can have this like game within a game within a game, and in a game where their alliances are ever shifting. It's so good, because you can be allied with somebody and then you can no longer be allied with them in an instant, and the whole game shifts because of it. And so looking back at the votes, it's 14-13 right now with a couple dice to be rolled. That to me feels like Dune maybe should have moved on, because the dice have seemed to be ever in my favor. But I guess there were some extra votes that happened, and it's Grand Austria Hotel that does move forward in a 16-12 vote. Dune is no more. The number 4 game of all time is no more. But you know what? That one was hard to get to the table. Maybe I can get Grand Austria to the table a little bit better. I'm okay with that. First half of the bracket, I'm 4 and 3. I'm still up. Now we have, speaking of 3, my number 3 game, Everdell, taking on my number 57. This was my number 57 when I ranked it, but I shot it up into an honorable mention of the top 30 because I think there were a couple in the top 30 where I hadn't played them enough. I didn't feel right about including them, and I was on a real Coup kick. I think Coup can be like really hit or miss. I don't like this new art style. Oh, it's just a Brazilian game box. Okay. Well, that's okay. I like that for you, Brazil. I like it for you. What version of Coup is this? I've never seen this version. Why is the captain and the ambassador the same, but the duke, the assassin, and the contessa are all different? And are those metal coins? Wow, there are so many versions of Coup. I actually have my own version of Coup, which has my face in it, is part of a cast GIF. I played this game every day, literally every day for 3 months, for a 3-month tour. And so as like a final end of show gift, one of the cast members made us like a deck of cards with all of our faces on it. So I'm the ambassador, or like the trickster is what he named it, and other people are the Contessa's, the Peanut Butter Panther, just a bunch of like inside jokes. Coincidentally, I'm doing a show with the Peanut Butter Panther this summer in Halifax in the park, and I'm very excited. Yeah, Coup's just like a really quintessential great bluffing game, but it requires you to have a group that likes that sort of thing. I tried it out recently with my girlfriend's family and their kids, and they didn't quite gel with it. The kids kind of gelled with it like that. Yeah, the kids like lying. But like for some people who don't like bluffing, this is the version I have. That's the Contessa I know. It just didn't hit that much, you know? But if you get a good group who love it and who can play quickly, it just gets better and better the more that you play it. And so that's why I moved it up. I moved it up to an honorary as part of this top 30, because I think it's so good. And I think it only goes down because you can have like semi-good plays, but I'll always play a game of Coup if people want to play Coup. It's a great filler game. Everdell, however, is my number 3 of all time, and it's just, I mean, this is one where I've only played the base game. I've played the collector's edition, so there's a couple extra cards in there, like the rats and the legendary critters, but nothing like too fancy. The tableau building in Everdell combined with the worker placement is so satisfying to me. It's everything that Seasons gives me, which honestly should be up here, but Seasons is in a class of its own because I've played so many games of it on Board Game Arena. But like this gives me the approachability, and it works better at multiple higher player counts than Seasons does. Like this really scratches that Seasons combo itch with like a limited tableau. And I love games where you think, oh, I'll never fill that tableau. And then by the end of the game, you're thinking, oh, shoot, I wish I had more space, right? So it makes every choice be really important. And it's just such a solid game. And it also takes the win and moves forward in a 21-15 vote. I'm 5 for 3. Next up, we have Dinosaur Island, Rawr and Wright, taking on the number 1 game on Board Game Geek, Brass Birmingham. My number 13, 12-ish. Brass Birmingham was kind of a cheat. It was like a 12.5. And Dinosaur Island sitting around that 18 spot. Dinosaur Island bills itself as drawing the most exciting dinosaur theme park known to humankind. Oh, that's cool. Look at how beautiful that is. What? That's so fun. I'm still waiting on the friggin' expansion for this. The designer said he was working on it, I thought. Did I miss it? I don't think I missed it. I can't wait until this is one thing where if it ever comes out with an expansion with more maps, like different things on the pad, I'm going to take it right away. But it's my favorite roll and write for sure because it's interactive. It's a really interactive dice drafting game, and again, whatever you take and whatever you leave in the middle has ramifications upon your security and how many dinosaurs break in. I think that's really cool. Brass Birmingham, I fell in love with, again, with the World Series of Board Gaming. Just spending so much time with some of these games and like really realizing the ins and outs of the strategy. Brass Birmingham is so elegant. It deserves to be number 1 on Board Game Geek. It's so elegant for a reason. Maybe I should buy the deluxe copy that's got those iron clays on them. I don't need them, but maybe I should do it. There's just a wonderful elegance of this economy, and just having seen really good brass players play and then getting to play it, like provides a roadmap for me. And I still just love how much flexibility and variability there is in this game. of trying to get out your level 2 buildings so that they stick around in between rounds, locking down key locations, the amount of importance that the routes actually play in terms of getting you points. There's a ton of interesting stuff happening with Brass. This one I'm expecting Brass to win. I mean, it's number 1 for a reason, right? But it is Dinosaur Island that moves forward in a very, very close 15-14 vote. But looking back, it's a 16-14 vote. It's even extended its lead. Dinosaur Island, people like that interactive roll and write, I think. And Brass, well, Brass can sometimes run you 60 to 20 minutes. Nah, more like 4 hours. You know, Brass can be long. It's a very long, crunchy game. And sometimes you don't have time for that. So it's Dinosaur Island that moves forward. And now I'm 5 for 4. But we'll see what happens with this one. Keyflower versus Spirit Island. Okay, I'm going to be 5 for 5. Spirit Island's going to win here, even though Keyflower is much higher for me. This is number 11 versus number 21 on my list. Coincidentally, number 11 on Board Game Geek. Keyflower is a game that I always say this whenever I talk about it. I had to stop playing on Board Game Arena because I was getting too good at it, and I wanted to be able to play it in real life. It's got a steep like learning curve and learning disparity, and it's also really good at 2 players, because if you like keeping track of other people's hidden information, which I definitely do, when you have more than 2 players, it becomes very impossible to keep track of a lot of information. But Keyflower, it's one of those games that's like really flexible as well. Whenever I do a list, I just did top 6-player games, and this was high up there. I think whenever I do that list of like honest player counts, I think this game plays really well at all player counts. It has a consistent gaming experience across the board. Super duper fun. Spirit Island is one that I think very well could go up the more I play it. Like, I haven't played this that much, and it's cracked into the top 21 on my list. I think I swapped it for Blood Rage because I had played Blood Rage more, and I felt like there was something more significant about that. But then again, like, I'm always really mindful here, especially being on YouTube, and especially like knowing how the internet works, and especially like really valuing and taking my job of like recommending things seriously. I don't want to be the type of person who just loves everything new that I've played, because I really could. Like, I could do that. I love board games, but I really try to like keep and like quench my excitement a bit, in a sense, until I'm sure that it is kind of airtight, because I want, if people to buy something based on my recommendation, I want them to be like fully informed, and I don't want to ever go back on my excitement, right? If somebody saw me and they were like, you look really excited to talk about that game, and then I kind of scale it back in 6 months, and they say, well, I bought it because you seemed really excited, and now I feel a bit taken advantage of. I never want that to happen. So I think that's why I didn't put Spirit Island up there. That's a bit of a tangent, but I think Spirit Island is a really, really friggin' great game. It's super fun. The asymmetry here is wildly exciting. Yeah, these are the base 8 spirits, right? Just the amount of different things you get to do. I love its sort of runes system, that you want to be playing the different runes. I love all the different special rules for each one. It's really good. But I also need to play it a lot more with its expansion content, or with the invaders in there, because I think I've only played the base game without the invaders, and I've always found it pretty easy. So it's still really fun. Like, games can be easy and fun. That doesn't really matter all that too much, although I really do like a difficult game. But yeah, this video is gonna be so friggin' long. Anyway, Spirit Island moves forward. Let's get it together, Chris. I thought this would be less, because like I didn't have to give you that many descriptions, because I've talked about them before. How much did Spirit Island win by? It's 20-6 right now. What did it end up being? 23-6. Yeah, I just gave them the dice because Keyflower should have stepped up. That's true. Spirit Island crushes it, knocks it out of the park, moves on to the next round. Next up, we have Agricola versus Dutch Blitz. Agricola friggin' holds up. Will Feast of Odin eventually dethrone it, in my esteem? Probably, but also probably not. I love the card play in Agricola. I love the hand of cards that you get dealt at the beginning. For me, is the thing that defines your strategy and makes your strategy a lot more exciting than anything else. Well, not than anything else, but like than just like a typical Agricola game. You gotta play with the cards. Agricola is at number 29, but Dutch Blitz is just the freaking best. It's so good. It's so fun. I always have a great time playing Dutch Blitz. I've been able to start this game at 8 p.m. and we've gone until like 5 in the morning playing just Dutch Blitz. The fact that any game can do that and have that effect on a group should speak volumes as to how addicting this is. I mean, if you like speed games, if you don't like speed games, you're not going to like this because it's speed solitaire, competitive speed solitaire. Then you might prefer Agricola with its storehouse clerk. And this is a close one. I'm looking back now, though, and it's tied. It's tied. It was tied 17-17. I think it was tied 16-16, and then it was tied 17-17. But when the vote was called, it was 18-16 for Agricola. Oh, no. I mean, I'm happy for it because Dutch Blitz, you can just play with a deck of cards as long as everybody has one with a different back. Sure, that's fine. But, oh, Agricola. Oh, I miss Dutch Blitz so much. That hurts. That's 2 out of my top 10 that are out, and that really hurts. It hurts me. But if there's one thing that my community likes to do, it's hurt me. Moving along, we have Massive Darkness 2 versus the Red Cathedral. Red Cathedral is also number 28. I think I've given so many things 28. I don't know. It's Red Cathedral's number 28. Massive Darkness 2 is number 7. Red Cathedral is so elegant. So elegant in how it's played. Very simple to play. You have 3 things to do on your turn. It's an incredible deal in a huge game in a small box. Perfect for travel. Red Cathedral is like one of the top games out there. It's so good. One of the top 30. Well, that's why it's on this list. Massive Darkness 2 is number 7, and that's because all of the mini games that you get to play as your own unique faction, if you're the wizard, if you're the monk, if you're the barbarian, doesn't matter what you are, you're going to have a fun little mini game that feels different from everybody else out there. This is Diablo, the board game. You're running around, looting stuff. It's great. I gotta pick up the pace. I've been talking for too long. These things always take too long. Yeah, Massive Darkness 2 is another one of those games which is very easy once you get into it, but I don't mind because I just like how it plays. I like getting loot. I like leveling up my character. I like unlocking different abilities, and there's so many different classes that make it so super fun. I see Massive Darkness 2 coming out over the Red Cathedral here, but there was a huge push for Red Cathedral. I think Red Cathedral, like, you need to look into it in terms of optimizing moves. You get to pick a dice, you move with that many pips, you get that many resources, you try to claim these cathedral spaces and spend the resources on them before anybody else can. But you can also upgrade each of your dice individually. You can also choose to do adornments on the cathedral, and the expansion is also really good as well, although completely not necessary. I wouldn't worry about it, plus you don't have to worry about it because Massive Darkness beats it in a 16-14 vote. I'm 6-5, right? Oh no, Agricola beat Dutch Blitz, so yeah, so it's 6-6 now. But let's see if that changes. We have Sheriff of Nottingham versus Barony. Barony is my number 10. Sheriff of Nottingham coming in at 25. Specifically the Arcane Wonders version of Sheriff of Nottingham, because the Command version is garbage. It's garbage, it's so ugly, and I hate it. Sheriff has been sort of a staple in my collection since I got into board gaming. When did it come out? 2014? I probably got it around that time. It's such a good bluffing game that people really glob onto and feel good about. It used to have this awesome app that would have these funny voices in it, and that is no longer because Come can't do anything right. Because I think it was an Arcane Wonders app, and then Come took the license, and Arcane Wonders was like, well, probably can't have that out there anymore. Barony is number 10. I love this game so much. I want it to come back into circulation. The moment it does, I will let you all know. I have a review of this on the channel. I describe this as a perfect 2-player game. It's a combo of Settlers of Catan, because they're the different types of resources you get, mixed with chess, because you're really going back and forth, mixed with Splendor, because you have 6 different actions that you can take, and it's all about that action efficiency. You want to efficiently map out the spots on the board, get the most resources, and protect yourself against being attacked from the other player, because you can attack and get resources stolen from you if you haven't spent them. First person to spend 15 resources 4 times ends the game and is usually the winner. Awesome modular board, can be spread out however you like. This is a tough one. I mean, like, obviously, I give it to Barony. Barony's ranked 10. Sheriff is ranked less. Barony's so good, but I see Sheriff for Nottingham. I don't know. I don't know which one is going to win here. Well, I do because I just checked the votes. It's Sheriff that wins just barely in a 13 to 12 vote. But Barony, you deserve better. Now I'm 7-6 for my treasures being burnt. As we move on into the next round, we have 2 more rounds to go, and then I'm probably going to be talking this amount through all of them because I just like the game so much. Next up, we have Cryptid versus Le Havre. Cryptid, which is my number 14, Le Havre, which is my number 17. Honestly, these could be reversed, and I'd be completely in agreement with these numbers. Cryptid is an awesome deduction game where you have to figure out your opponent's clues before they figure out yours. You actually have to find the cryptid, but you know one thing. So you know the cryptid lives in water. And on your turn, you're going to ask somebody a question. You say, hey, could the cryptid be here? And you put it somewhere. And their clue, let's zoom in, their clue, let's say, is that the cryptid has to be 3 away from a green building. Any green buildings. They're going to put a circle down saying, yeah, the cryptid could be there. Or they're going to put a square down, a cube there, saying, no, according to my knowledge, the cryptid can't be there. And you want to find the one spot on the board that matches the clues to all of the people. If you're the person who does that, so this was the red player, for example. If red does that, red did that first, everybody else put their disc on it, red wins the game. Really solid, great game. Le Havre is another Uwe Rosenberg. 2 Uwe's and like 3 potentially. Maybe Uwe's going to be my favorite designer. Seems like I love his games, even though I hate patchwork. Uwe, every turn you're going to move this ship down the river and then add resources to common supply. And then you can do 2 things. You can either take all the resources or you can activate your worker. You can move them to a specific building and do that action. And throughout the game, you're going to be buying and building more buildings because they're worth points in front of you, hoping to get the most points. And anytime somebody uses your building, they have to pay you some stuff, but they also get to take an amazing, cool action. Like typical Uwe games, it is very, very hard to feed your people. You got to feed them a lot. See this little pot that's moving up and up at the end of each of the rounds. You have to feed that much. It's just like a really great, chunky, awesome worker placement game. It's really good. Takes a long time, but it's quite good. I expect Le Havre to win here just because I think Le Havre is a little bit more highly regarded, but it is not. It's Cryptid that just edges out Le Havre in a 12 to 11 vote. Then finally, we have our number 2 game of all time, Attack on Titan, the deck building game. This game is so freaking good. Taking on Bounce Off. And I know what you're thinking. I know, Chris, Bounce Off is the game that you put into every bracket and it never sticks around. And you're right. This time I do have a replacement for Bounce Off. It's not Game Bounce, it's Bounce Off. Bounce Off is in the competition. Everybody loves Bounce Off so much that there was nothing to replace it. Nothing even in between the 57 that Coup was at and 31 that was Grand Austria Hotel or something. There were no good games, big games better than Bounce Off. Bounce Off had to move into the ranks, and Bounce Off could legitimately be crowned my number 1 game of all time moving forward. And I kind of hate that I did this, but I had to be fair to Bounce Off. Like, Attack on Titan, this is one of the most underrated games ever. It's offensive to me how underrated this is. This should be in the BGG Top 100. It is a punishingly hard, awesome deck builder where the movement of your character is defined by your card stats. Each card has either power or it has movement. And so there are these titans that are smashing into the wall, which are so hard to get rid of, for one. They take so much power to take out. They stop you from building up your deck. And so you have to balance out who deals with all the titans while like trying desperately to get your deck into good order. And then also, if you don't have enough movement in your deck, then you can't get to these sections. This smiling titan right here is in the middle section, but if you're over here with this random face down card that shouldn't be face down, it doesn't matter. Nothing about this setup makes sense to me. Maybe I should sleeve this game. I have 2 copies of this game because, because I got it for a patron who I saw it and he said, yeah, I would buy that. And then the shipping was too much. And then he found a better deal. And I was like, great, take the better deal. I don't care. I'm very happy to have two copies because I love this game. And in case my copy gets ruined, it's out of print. And I want to make sure I can play this game. Like, that's how much I love this game. I hope both copies don't get burned. But if you're over here with this, like, C, you have to have 1, 2, 3 movement to get to Smiley Titan, and your base cards only have, like, 2 movement on them. So you need to have either 2 of them in your hand to go to attack. It's just like an awesome balance. And the Titans are obviously so scary. And you know what? I think hubris here played a part. I think Attack on Titan, I think I thought it was going to beat Bounce Off. Like, I didn't expect that Bounce Off would make it further. I thought that Bounce Off would be shut down, but it wasn't. It wasn't. So it's Bounce Off that wins in an 18-12 vote, and all copies of Attack on Titan are extinguished from existence. That's a tough one. That is a really tough one. Dang, these games are good. And Bounce Off just might reign supreme. So we're into the final 16. We finally hit Rising Sun. Rising Sun was in its bye, and now it has a chance to move on, taking on Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Are your favorites still in here? Now, Rising Sun is an incredible game. It is the best game, at least for however long this video lasts. It is a beautiful game of area control, negotiation, diplomacy, and the follow mechanic, creating alliances that benefit you and trying to convince people that your threat level is lower than it is, and then pulling out all the sneaky tricks when they realize that your threat level is a little bit bigger. It is so perfectly balanced through player interaction. And it is the players who decide what is important. If they are monsters, if it's hostages, if it's Ronin, if it's the Kami up top. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Compare that to Pandemic Legacy, a game I haven't even finished. Come on. Should this even be in here? Should it even be in the top 10? I mean, I'm just being objective here. I'm just being objective, you know? Pandemic Legacy used to be number 1 on Board Game Geek, and now what is it? 2? Ridiculous. Oh yeah. I also this was also in the Discord where I just started deleting everyone's votes who voted against Rising Sun. It would be a real shame if somebody kept deleting the votes and made sure Rising Sun moved on into the finals. You know, it would be a very, I don't know what sort of moderator would do that to abuse their power, but it would be an awful crying shame if that happened. I cackled about that for like a good 5 minutes straight, just really, really cackling at my computer. But eventually, I decided to be an honorable moderator like I know the public needs. And so I was honest, and I expected the worst. I really expected the worst. It's looking back on it now, it is 16-13 in terms of the votes for Rising Sun. It made its way through 15-13. Now more support has been thrown on it from the grave, and I think that's important. I think that is very important in this sort of battle. Pandemic Legacy burns to a crisp, and honestly, I don't care. Now that Attack on Titan is gone, the only thing I care about is Rising Sun. It's the only thing I care about. Sorry, Anachrony and Avalon, number 9 and number 8. Both of you can burn, okay? Both of you can get taken out completely. I don't care. I feel like Avalon's not going to win here between Anachrony and Avalon, just based upon the Discord's feelings, and also the fact that Avalon's like really good, and social deduction, you kind of need the right group in order to hit. And in fact, one of my patrons, Andrew Shamalama Ding Dong, he opted to use all 10 of his extra votes, for the 10 of his extra votes in the next competition. For the next 10 months, he won't get any extra votes because of this matchup, and threw them on to Anachrony, even though Anachrony was winning 25-6, to really rub it into Avalon so that Anachrony can move forward in a 35-6 vote. Normally, I wouldn't allow banking those votes, but for this one, I made an exception just to really, it showed Anachrony's time traveling powers, really, that I could zip forward in time and steal votes from itself in the future that eventually will have to be paid back. Yeah, so it is Anachrony that moves forward. Avalon, unfortunately, is cast aside in flames. But honestly, I'm okay, I'm kind of okay with this because I'm still riding on the high that Rising Sun is still in the competition. This one I'm going to be less okay with Unfair versus Power Grid. I got to pull for Unfair here. Unfair is number 5. Power Grid's only number 12, right? Unfair is in the top 10 for a reason. The top 5 for a reason. It's better than 9 and 8. It's 5. Unfair is just so fun, and I can't wait to play that friggin' expansion. They have is this the new expansion? Coming out in 2025? Fairy Tale, Legendary, Steampunk, Underground. Oh, cool. I don't even know what they do, but I just like the names. They're giving you a new deck for every theme. Okay, Fairy Tale. Try your luck as encounter beanstalks, dragons, talking animals, and more. Be careful what you wish for. Legendary. I think a bit of a stretch with the name, but that's fine. Bring fame and fortune to your park by building rides as iconic as the legendary figures of ancient mythology. Cool. Steampunk. An alternate future springing from glorious past where steam power and mechanical automation continue to flourish. And underground, go on a journey to the center of the earth, dig a big hole, find exotic treasures. Cool. Is there anything about this? Change of publisher. Interesting to see Good Games Publishing will no longer be the publisher for Unfair. We'll be interested to hear the reasons behind the change, just out of curiosity. I'm sure it's for the best. This is in February. Chosen not to renew the contracts with Good Games Publishing. There are a number of aspects of their handling of admin, communication, and production process that I'm not happy about. That's our plans are for the remaining 3 Unfair expansions to be crowded on GameFound and manufactured with Ninex. Kate and I will manage crowdfunding campaigns directly, including back communications and fulfillment. Don't have a place for retail distribution. Localization will continue to be handled through Lucky Duck. That's good. Lucky Duck is great. Yeah, I haven't noticed difference in the color back anyway. Like, it's minute, and there's so many cards that, like, you're not going to keep track of it. It's not like it's a deck builder where, like, imperfections show up. It's, you know, on the top card of a deck, which, when not being compared with another thing, like, I'm not worried about it. Cool. Oh, I can't wait. If that's coming out in 2025, I hope it comes out on GameFound soon. That'd be great. Anyway, the expansions look good. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is the expansions look good. This is the one that I want to play. I haven't played it yet. I'm excited to, and I still have the chance because Power Grid burns in this vote. It's 16-12 for Unfair, and then Unfair gets the Die of Chaos as well, moving forward in a 17-12 vote. Power Grid, I love ya, but you're no Unfair. And if that feels unfair, take it up with management. Moving along, we've got Nemesis taking on Grand Austria Hotel. I'm assuming Nemesis will win here just because Nemesis is such a solid game and people love it, you know? Grand Austria is super fun, and I'm probably going to regret backing or buying a copy because, well, it's going to burn for all eternity here. But I think there were some bad extra votes. There's a lot of push for Nemesis now after the fact. Nemesis is sitting at a 20-18 vote for the win, but when it was called, it was actually Grand Austria Hotel that moves forward in a 19-18 vote. I'm so surprised. I'm even more surprised that it's changed now, looking back through time, but we can't change the past, and it is Grand Austria Hotel that moves forward. Nemesis lockdown gets put on permanent lockdown and is out of the competition. Okay, now I'm feeling the heat. It's Everdell versus Dinosaur Island. Rawr, right? I mean, Everdell's got to win this, right? Like, I feel Everdell is a shoo-in for the finals. It really feels that way. People love Everdell for a good reason, and even though I love Dinosaur Island Rawr, right, I recognize that it's not as universally well loved as Everdell, although this vote is pretty close. It's 19-12 for the winner between these two, but there's no way that Dinosaur Island is the one that's getting 19 votes. It's Everdell that moves forward into that quarterfinals. Let's keep it moving because I realize this video is long. We've got Spirit Island taking on Agricola. Again, this feels like an obvious win for Spirit Island. Spirit Island is my number 21, Agricola is my 29, so I guess the status quo kind of remains there, but I just know that Spirit Island is universally beloved. It took out Coup in a landslide, and it took out Dutch Blitz in a landslide, I think. What did Spirit Island take out? Who can tell? Who remembers that far back in the past? But it is Spirit Island that does win in a landslide, takes out Agricola 21-5. Next up, we have Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape taking on the Sheriff of Nottingham by Arcane Wonders, the only good copy of Sheriff that exists. I'll stand by that till my dying day. This has got to be Massive Darkness, right? We all saw my beautiful insert that I made for it that gets almost everything in that core pledge into one box. We saw that. It was a thing of beauty. Sheriff, well, you've been replaced in the second edition, so I don't feel so bad that all of your copies are going to be burned. But we love a dungeon crawler up in this Discord. And it's Massive Darkness 2 that moves forward in 21-7 vote. And then finally we have Cryptid. Can Cryptid stem the tide of Bounce-Off's invasion? That's the real question, and the real answer here is no. I don't see a world in which Cryptid is able to do that. I really don't. Cryptid is a great game, but Bounce-Off is a great meme. It's a greater meme. And it's not enough that there's talk in this Discord about burning the final matchup, just burning both of them and making me suffer through all that pain and desolation. No, we also need to have Bounce Off eliminate Attack on Titan at the same time and have it eliminate Cryptid now 21-7. In a 21-7 vote, Cryptid falls by the wayside and Bounce Off makes its way into the quarterfinals, and I regret everything that I've ever done with my life. But hopefully that won't change right now because it's Rising Sun taking on Anachrony. This is going to be Rising Sun's hardest battle yet, and oh god, things are not looking good. Things are not looking good between the two. And even though Rising Sun scoops up both dice of chaos, when the vote was called, it was not enough to beat Anachrony. It's Anachrony that moves forward in a 19-18 vote. Honestly, a lot closer than I was expecting it to. I know we have some Rising Sun fans in the chats because you're here because you like me and I like Rising Sun, and it is part of us and will always be part of us. But I know the love for Anachrony is super strong, and Rising Sun is unfortunately eliminated from the competition, even though if I were to look back now, it seems like more of a tie, and if the dice fell for Rising Sun would move forward, but I can't turn back time. I wish I could, but I'm not Anachrony. It's Rising Sun that falls and Anachrony that moves forward in a 19-18 vote. It looks like I'm going to be having a new favorite game, and it might be one of these two games. Unfair versus Grand Austria Hotel. Let's get it blown up. What a beautiful cover, huh? What an absolute beautiful cover. I don't see Unfair being able to take out Grand Austria Hotel here. It would take a miracle, and with Rising Sun dying a very fiery death, I don't see any miracles coming anytime soon. But instead, we'll just have the service industry slave away and take away everybody's joyful vacation. Yeah, that's right. What do you want to do? Do you want to wait on tables, or do you want to go to an amusement park and get sick because you're no longer young and it's just a reminder? Well, apparently it's that, because Unfair hits forward in the tie. This one came to a 14-14 tie. And Unfair having the most extra votes. It had the most support of the people, most passionate fan base, and that helps it propel itself forward into the semifinals. Grand Austria Hotel, unfortunately, bites the bullet. Now we have Everdell versus Spirit Island. This is a tough matchup. This is a really, really tough matchup. I know my Discord is very fond of Spirit Island, but they're also pretty fond of Everdell. There's the complete collection from Everdell, which I know I'm going to get at some point, even though the box is ludicrously big. I don't want to get it. I want to make my own storage solution that's better, and I don't know if I can in a smaller footprint. Probably can. I don't know, but I also know that it's probably a better deal to get it all. It's a tough thing, and hopefully Everdell burns so I don't have to worry about answering this decision, but of course not. It's Spirit Island that falls by the wayside. Another really close vote. Like, these votes have been tight. These have been really tight votes, but a lot of extra votes were thrown down, and it's Everdell that does move forward in a 21-16 vote. And finally, we have Massive Darkness taking on Bounce Off. I don't know why I'm having that reaction. I'm the one who did that to me. But you all did it to me, and you know who you are. You know that you took Attack on Titan away from me, and you know that I will bring the full force of the Eldians upon your household. Okay? Just know that. Just know that. Paradise Island ain't going to be a paradise for you. That's what I have to say. We've got Massive Darkness taking on Bounce Off. As Gisbert Grasshopper says, what time is it? Bounce Off. But if there's anyone that can do it, it's Massive Darkness that can. And lo and behold, it's Massive Darkness that moves forward, that takes out Bounce Off. It takes out the meme competition, baby. Oh, if there is one thing right with this world, it is Massive Darkness making its way into the semifinals. Although, you know, if Bounce Off had made it, it would have deserved it. But Bounce Off is usurped from its throne, and Massive Darkness moves forward. And so we have our final four. We have Anachrony, Unfair, Everdell, Massive Darkness 2. Those are our final four, and I do feel pretty good about myself because all four of these are in my top 10. We have 3, 5, 7, and 9. It's odd that it happened that way, but it's what happened. So we have Anachrony taking on Unfair. I mean, I don't expect Unfair to win here. But who knows? I'm so surprised by the amount of support that Unfair has received. It's pretty fun to see the amount of support that Unfair really has gotten. But I think that support is about to end. I love how the decks interact with each other. I love the take that aspect of it, that you don't have to do it, but you can, and that usually it's beneficial for you to not do it, but sometimes it's beneficial to attack someone. It really balances that. It has such a beautiful balance. I love the little twists that all the decks bring. I like the new updates to the rules that they've done. It's just a friggin' blast. I cannot wait to play through those new expansion decks. Oh, they're going to be so fun. But I'll never get a chance because Anachrony wins in a 22-5 vote. Just decimated. No extra votes were even used here. They're not allowed. But it's Anachrony that moves forward into the final round to take on one of these two competitors, Everdell versus Massive Darkness 2. I said we might see Everdell in the finals, but Massive Darkness 2 was able to take out Bounce Off, so you never know what's going to happen here. Man, both of these are so good. I think I opt more for Everdell because you can play it quicker, right? Massive Darkness takes a lot to set up and a little bit more time investment. It takes almost more of a time investment than Anachrony does, really. But it's worth it, right? Like it is really worth it if you do have the time. It also is a bit easy, but I'm fine with either of these being in the finals. It came down to 14-12 for one of these two games, and the game that's moving into the finals is coming to you after this ad break. I don't know. Did YouTube put one there? Maybe they did. If they did, I probably remembered to put it there specifically. It doesn't matter. It's Everdell that moves forward 14-12. Massive Darkness, you fought so bravely. You took out Bounce Off, and you were too weak to continue up the fight against Everdell. And so we have our finals. Anachrony versus Everdell. Two wonderful games. One of these games I am going to get, and let me come back to you so you can know that I'm serious here. It will be my #1 game of all time. My new #1 moving forward. It could be Everdell. It could be Anachrony. And both would be okay, you know? As long as I have one of these games in my life, maybe I can live through the sting of having to lose Rising Sun. I can live through the sting of having to have the most wonderful game fall by the wayside. I can live through the sting of an Attack on Titan falling to Bounce Off, but I can have either my #3 or my #9. They can move up through the ranks. It'll make a good story. And at least I have a life raft to hold on to in this miserable, miserable world. So let's go check the votes. The votes seem a little bit low. We have 8 for Anachrony. We have 3 for Everdell. And we have 19 votes to burn it all to the ground. Have you not taken your pound of flesh? As Joan of Arc once said, ouchie, ouchie, I'm on fire. I'm pretty sure that's the quote. It seems to be that the flames are going to consume everything amongst us. And it's now that I ask you, where were you when joy died? I saw the heroes be consumed by darkness. I was there in the midst of a world torn apart by chaos and catastrophe. I was there to witness the collapse of civilization. The fires burned bright, and then there was only smoldering darkness. The sky feel cold. I feel the coldness creeping in. The breeze carries whispers of a forgotten era. Ashes swirl in the wind. The towering walls of Attack on Titans, glorious bastions that once held all of our hopes, fell into darkness. You like forest life? Too bad. Everdell's burnt. You like an alliance? Well, I've got an alliance for you. The form of the beast that has made its way into our hearts and souls. I came into this thinking that I would have a new favorite game, a new game that I could hold dear to my heart, that I could feel its precious pieces caress against my hands, that I could pull out in times of trouble, that could ease away this world's woes, but instead I got a glimpse into humanity's darkest hour, a view of the future to come. But there still is hope. There still is one hope for the future, and that is to travel back. Arise, rising sun, from the ashes! Arise, my friend! Make the right choice. Call Chris of the past. Call the vote a little bit later. Save yourself and humanity!
I feel like I've been here before.
Call the vote a little bit later. Save yourself and humanity. I heard something. Weird. So surprisingly, Rising Sun takes out Anachrony. As you can see on the screen right now, a delay in the votes makes it, and the dice of chaos falling for Rising Sun makes it come out on top. It is Rising Sun that moves forward. It's Rising Sun that takes out Avalon 25-5. And Rising Sun clean sweeps Unfair 25-7, moving ahead into the finals against Everdell. And so we have our final vote. Checking the tally now, there are only 3 votes for Everdell, and it looks like 8 votes for the Burn It All movement and 19 for Rising Sun. It is Rising Sun that moves forward in this fairy tale story. I can't believe it happened either, but Rising Sun is crowned the #1 game of my heart. Honestly, it's really spectacular. I can't really imagine a world where I couldn't call Rising Sun my #1 game, right? There would have to be something wrong with it. It would have to be some sort of darkest timeline. And so I'm just happy that we made it. To everybody who voted, thanks for voting. We made it here. Weird. I thought I saw something in the camera. But that's it. That's it for the deathmatch. I very much hope you enjoyed. I know I am. I did. Congratulations goes to Rising Sun. You have been crowned the champion, because that definitely felt like a close one. And now if that was a lot and you're feeling burnt out, don't worry, okay? Next month's deathmatch is going to be games for burnout, games when you're feeling a little bit tired, a little bit exhausted, and you don't really have the strength or the mental capacity to go through a whole intense game. Well, we got you covered. That's what we're voting on right now. If you want to take part in the daily votes, you can sign up for the Room and Board Patreon. The link is always down below. It helps support the channel. And I appreciate it. And if not, don't worry, I will always produce these recaps so that, everybody can have fun and participate in the action. So up to you. Thanks everybody for watching. My name is Chris George, and I don't have a Rising Sun. Oh, sorry. that was weird. And I don't have an Anachrony. Sorry. I don't know what's going on here. I don't have a cash raise. Yeah, that one. And I'll see you later. Wait.